wild statement. Why? Because it's Friday. Our boy John Cassaday recently passed away. We did a video saying goodbye to him. Let's make a wild statement. Watchmen the movie is the greatest movie adaptation of a comic book in human history, and there's a period there. We can thank Zack Snyder, who took immense care in the production of his adaptation. So much so, to the point that he got Dave Gibbons, the original Watchmen artist, to draw new pages to correct the new ending of the movie. So in a way, the Watchmen movie ending, we have extra pages for that. They can get folded into, or we're going to replace some pages, but it can get folded into the original Watchmen comic book and have it make complete sense. It's one amazing feat. And along the way, Zack Snyder, who we know is an artist himself, he's a visual dude. He illustrates, he has artistic ability, he does his own storyboards. So who does he get to help visualize what some of these characters can be in the real world, right? Well, he gets John Cassaday. He also gets David Finch and Adam Hughes, all featured in this book. Now, I'm not going to set it up without being a little bit truthful here. John Cassaday, we have about 5 drawings of his to look at. We have some from David Finch, and we have another maybe 4 drawings from Adam Hughes. It's not a lot. There's not a lot of meat on that bone. But I want to showcase it. I want to show it off because on this channel, on my podcast, I'm just, hey, like it or hate it, I think Zack Snyder is an absolute visionary. I think the Watchmen movie is the greatest movie adaptation from a comic book. I will put Watchmen and like The Crow 1 and 2. Come at me, bro, right? Oh, we do crazy things on this channel. I want to make a further observation. With the rise of Alex Ross, when Alex Ross like busted a nut, bursted onto the scene, he changed the way we visualize superheroes. Now, you can say he did a painted version of Neil Adams' proportions and so on and so forth, right? Maybe, right? Like maybe some Jose Garcia Lopez in there too. But the Alex Ross style was the Alex Ross style. And 2 of the guys that stemmed from that, and we were lucky enough in the early 2000s to see these 2 guys duel in their interpretation of Captain America. One of them was John Cassaday. Realistic superhero, but still comic book, right? It was just more grounded. There was no cross-hatching, none of that jibber-jabber. And then we had Brian Hitch, who with the Ultimates did his version of Captain America that later became the model for the live-action Chris Evans Captain America. But we got 2 of these guys. We had Cassaday working on Captain America in the Marvel Knights imprint, and then we had Cassaday, and then we have Hitch working on the Ultimates imprint with the Ultimate, or the Ultimate comic book line. It's one heck of a time. This is why we're paying attention to John Cassaday, because with his passing, I just feel like there's so much that has to be said. And I scoured a lot of what's on YouTube, just kind of like what's out there on the web. I don't get a lot of traction when I search for John Cassaday. And I don't care, because this is my channel. We're doing things this way. If I want to waste all of my time discussing John Cassaday while reading the Rippleverse, right? I can do it, right? We can do these dumb, ridiculous things on this channel. We can go into deep dives. Who cares? And I hopefully you, the AKAPAD army, you guys want to stick with me. We'll get through all of this together. We're still going to maintain Wildstorm Wednesday and Top Cow Tuesday, and we're going to get more into the Rippleverse and that horsey book that he's working on, and we're going to get into Planetary way ahead of schedule that ever was scheduled for Wildstorm Productions. But a lot of the channel flow dynamics have changed because of this passing. But I also feel like it's a little bit of my mission to put this stuff out there, give you guys a perspective, and maybe have you appreciate the time that these books were released in, because I really view the 90s as the greatest comic book era of all of it. Now, the caveats for that is we had these creative booms in the 60s and the 80s, not so much the 70s, but the 60s and the 80s from Marvel. DC has had the greatest creative run of any company with 85, 86, and 87. All of that, though, like, culminated and crashed right into the 90s and the explosion of new companies, new talent, new money, and all of these things. And so many of these companies, things like CrossGen and Dreamwave Productions that we've already profiled and spoke about on this channel, that was what the 90s were all about. We had like this rush of new ideas and new talent. Going into the 2000s, we're winding all that down and we're dealing with an industry that was pretty much bleeding out, that got stitches and is in recovery mode. Cassaday is a part of that class. The class of what we right now should label as the comic book rebound. Cassaday was one of the voices of that era. So much so, one of the best books of the era, Planetary, it's hardly discussed at all anymore. And this is what I mean about the vision and the ideas of this channel. The best thing you can do is you have to show this video to a friend, you have to subscribe, you have to like this, you should leave a comment. Even if you're just still with me, give me a thumbs up, let me know you're out there. Let's hit the drawing table. I want to showcase John Cassaday's contribution to the Watchmen movie with David Finch and Adam Hughes. Let's go. Before we crack this bad boy open, can I get a holla for our boy Crypt? Can I get a holla for our boy Pipe? Our table mascots, full R90s. Guys, if you were a little bit into that 90s rank during the introduction, this is what this channel is all about. This channel is, look at this. Wouldn't this just work perfectly as a movie poster? We have Watchmen starring Crypt and Pike. We're all about the 90s on this channel. But we're also about reading comics and knowing as much as possible about some of this stuff. Let me just bring you up to speed to what I'd like to call the Watchmen stack. And we have a new edition that is here today that I'm going to bring you tomorrow in regards to the Watchmen stack. We got to have the original issues, right? You got to have the originals. We got those. You have to have, and I mean you have to have, meaning I don't care what the prices are for these. Pay the money. Have them, own them, learn from them. It's Watchmen's one of the only things you'll hear me say that on. Watchmen Noir. You want the book in black and white and straight up perfect black and white? Well, here it is. Watchmen Noir. Watchmen collected editions. Remember, The Watchmen was not a graphic novel. The Watchmen was a maxi series that's later collected. Okay, The Watchmen was not conceived as this. If The Watchmen was conceived as this, it could be called a graphic novel, but it was a maxi series. I do some of the alternate printings, or the alternate editions. I still want the first printing of the trade paperback. That's still on my list, but this one is nicely put together. And it has, like, you know, some nice supplemental things at the back here. Some first initial design sketches. Really cool stuff. The famous portfolio. And yes, that's on the list as well. Really nice stuff. And then the big one, and aka Powders, I apologize, because I know this is going up there in price. Watching the Watchmen by Dave Gibbons. This is a ton of his work, a ton of commentary. Previously, I just did a podcast episode, the new Watchmen animated movie. I did a whole episode on how they misinterpreted this scene right here with all the crooked, bent action figures. Yeah, pivotal. But this is absolutely essential. I hate to say it, but you gotta spend the money for that. So one of the cheapies is the ones connected to the movie, except for the one that's coming today. I had to wait to get a decent price on that. But let's get into it. Always have Five Below illustration markers at your drawing table to use as a cover prop. So we get relatively early on in here, you know, like the first couple pages of when we start. We see right here, we get some nice David Finch. Like it's almost like they went to David Finch and they were like, "Hey, who could you design? Like who could you spin? Like who could you add your flavor to?" And I think he said Night Owl too, because he's got a lot of work here with Night Owl. So we're gonna get into some of the artwork right here. See, David Finch. Look at the paintings. It was really like, hey, can we kind of really see what would happen? I mean, look at the gear, the armaments, the buckle here. That's like the crescent sun. Like, look at that profile. He looks more like Hawkman. But it's like, why not? This is the concept phase. Look at his owl ship. Look at his Ozymandias and his Silk Spectre. Swinging for the fences, doing nothing but amazing work. I mean, I love, too, that he really doesn't have shoes. Like, he's in, like, a straight-up Roman. I mean, the hair. Really cool stuff. I mean... he's just very regal here. Like regal, golden, and like perfect. And this too, like look at all of the wires and the hoses. The ventilation, like right there, the ventilation. AKA padders, right? How do you not love this stuff? And here we have Adam Hughes, who really went traditional, but Adam Hughes introduces this idea where the comedian pretty much has like a mouth, like, but it's painted. It's like a painted, almost like anime mouth. And we're kind of done when it comes to our comic book guys. So let's have a look. I mean, I do love the face here though for Owl too. I don't like calling him Night Owl. I like calling him Owl because to me he's an owl. But let's get into the Finchy boy. Not Finchy boy. I'm sorry, John Cassaday. Where is Cassaday? We will find him right here. I mean, how close is this? How close is this to what ended up in the movie? Right? His Rorschach. Dude, I love these effects. These effects are so cryptic. Like bloody, grimy. Look, the tattered trench coat. And then look at his Ozzy. Golden and purple. Not a lot of contrast, but we're close to what ends up in the movie. I think it really is. I mean, look, we get that beautiful signature here, but this is the talent of the time. You can't get Alex Ross for everything. Not that I think he would agree. You know, Alex Ross, I think like after he did the Oscars poster and he did the credit sequence for Spider-Man 2, he was almost like done with Hollywood at that point. He was done with working with those guys and he had enough stroke to still to this day do what he wanted to do in comics. That your second best bet was John Cassaday or Brian Hitch at this time. I love that spin on the comedian. I mean, I'm happy it didn't end up on camera, but so close. And here we go. We have, I said 5. I think I said 5 with the intro. We have a zinger here because we take the cover off. We take the cover off. This is fantastic. Here we go. That's his vision for Night Owl 2 on camera. how is this not posterized by DC Comics? Like, how is just not one of your perennial night out images? I get it, it's not canon within the book, but this should have been used and reused, because it is the character, it's the guy we want. Like the belt, the face, the red highlights. I don't know, AKA Patters. Watchmen means a lot. You know, like as a reader, you have to go to bat for the Watchmen a lot. Cause right, the internet kind of destroys everything. But this is comic book illustration here. You guys need to know the back is just a fully rendered concept artwork of Dr. Manhattan, naked, working on his device. This book is out there, it's affordable, it's worth your time, it's worth your attention.